Hi there, welcome to Island Fly Tarot. I'm going to do a tarot card reading for Aquarius energy. And we're going to do this 10 card spread, and we're going to read it from a couple different perspectives about how different people might be handling their Aquarius energy, because everyone has free will, and, we've all been younger and more immature, which can represent if we're young and we're immature, we're just young and we're immature. It's a stage of life we're at. But some people get older, but they keep being young and immature. So then they're kind of operating from their shadowy nature, not wanting to grow up and mature themselves or temper their more immature, egoic nature. And so everybody's at different stages of life, different emotional maturity levels. Shadowy Aquarius, well, Aquarius energy can be, what our idea of the dream life is and what our end goals are and what our truth is. And some people it is more about them. For other people, it's more about the world. I want a certain status and image or to look like a shining star. And for some people, that's the most important thing. And how they get there doesn't matter. If they act with character and integrity, doesn't matter. If that's to get in a relationship, doesn't matter if they love that person or not. The end goal is me or these certain things of the world. Or some people do a lot of self-indulgence, and then it's like living the dream life, and they think they're living the dream life. And if that's what makes them happy, everybody's got the free will to live their life and manifest whatever they want. It's just that other people might not agree and maybe don't want to make their life about those things or about them or indulging in those things, thinking they're living the dream, Everybody's got their own truth, their own ambitions and motivations and aspirations. And so it's just to see the truth. Sometimes we get more mismatched relationships, and we can tend to think that other people think like me, because we can have a lot of things that we do like about each other. We could have similar habits and hobbies and maybe some similar viewpoints on things. Aquarius is air sign energy. Maybe people are bright and smart and they like, the fact that someone else is bright and smart and they can discuss things with them. But, they still could find out that, there can be a lot of things I enjoy about you, but sometimes as you get to know people more, it does kind of get to, especially if it's like a romantic relationship, what is your long-term goal? What is it that ultimately drives and motivates you? And you could realize your truth is different. And high vibe energy would be that I believe relationships are to be just and fair, that you're supposed to work together cooperatively for a common goal, based on love, not the ego and the image. But if you are more about the ego or the image, then you just need to get in a relationship with someone who makes their life more about that, for example. Okay, so we have a lot of cards not showing themselves, and we have 3 cards apparently that are in reverse here. But when cards are in reverse, it can mean that some people are hiding, some people could be hiding, they harness those energies in a more shadowy way. Other people could be doing work within themselves to detach from more shadowy or fearful or insecure ways of thinking, and the people in their life don't know that, they're doing that work within themselves, because that's work that you just do within yourself. I had some past pain and heartbreak. I used to feel this way about myself, and I'm kind of doing this inner work within myself. Well, while you're doing it, you're not probably going to be telling everybody about it. It's an internal process. And after all these cards are not showing themselves, the overarching reason for the reading is the self-image card. And we start out with the children card, which is kind of like the 6 of Cups, which is about the past. We could have all went through experiences in our life with people we grew up with, people in our community, school experiences, young love relationships, whatever. It can all kind of do a blow to our ego, because we're just dealing with other human beings, and some of them are more immature and bossy and controlling, and some of them are loving and nurturing, and The same issues we deal with later in life are kind of some of the same issues I think that we deal with when we're children. It's just at a different level. And when we're children, sometimes people can be much more overt. And then as people get older, they get better at couching, hiding their more shadowy ways of being. And but it's really, we're kind of dealing with the same issues over and over, just on a different scale. And when it could have been more overt, now it can be less obvious. And the thing is, we all have healing and growing and maturing to do. And how much power are we going to give to the outside world? Are we willing to see when I acted in a way that wasn't something I'm proud of or not aligned with my truth? And that's not how I want to be in the world. Am I willing to do this work within myself? And then we have the reading card, the joining, and the body. And that can be coming to a place of peace within ourselves and balance within ourselves, that I could want to act one way, but I could have acted in a different way, and some other people could feel that way in their life right now. It's kind of like there's a Bible verse like, why do I do the things I don't want to do, and why don't I do the things I do want to do, right? But are we willing to kind of do this work and get inspired? The end of the reading is the sex card, and that can, one way it can be interpreted as just fire sign energy. Our life force energy is fire sign energy. Sometimes people want to be in certain friendships and relationships because they're motivated and inspired. That could be what fire sign energy is. Because they want certain people to work together with them and be in a relationship with them, right? Just like we all do, right? But sometimes people, it's just, they could use their fire sign energy to try to get people to get in a relationship. That would be abusing their gifts that they were given. You aren't an animal and you're not a computer. You are given these unique talents, skills, and interests. Kind of the body card here reminds me of Virgo energy, which is about all the unique gifts and talents we've been given. We can misuse those and not act with character and integrity because we want these things of the world. We can use our emotions manipulatively, our charm, our sexuality, our status, our image, our money, our social clout, whatever. We can use all of the gifts we've been given in the world. And we've all got different gifts and talents, skills, and interests. And some have been given more of some things, and other people maybe have been given more of other things. But some people can choose, no matter how little or how much they have, to try to use those more manipulatively. And even emotionally, they can put a lot of work and effort into how they present themselves in the world. The way I read tarot is the masculine figures can represent how we go present ourselves in the world. And we can all go present ourselves in the world any way we want. But the feminine figures can talk about how we really think and feel. So there can be men in the world, there can be women in the world that could present themselves in the world like someone who's happy to meet other people, is a welcoming person. Aquarius energy. I look at life from a higher perspective. I'm not selfish. I'm not egotistical. I'm not greedy. I'm not manipulative. Some of them are telling the truth. They're not. Some of them are not telling the truth. And they really are. And we've all invested, Virgo energy can talk about that, we've invested in all these different people in the world throughout our life. And we've invested in all these different people because we have valuable lessons to learn from them. And they have valuable things to learn from us. And we could be drawn and attracted to each other. That's kind of the fire sign energy. Because we do have things to learn from each other. some people who are more hopeful and believing in love can be a very loving and compassionate person and get in relationships with people who are a little more defensive or immature or something, like, oh no, I'm going to change them and I'm going to love them and I'm going to make them look at life differently. And some of those people are like, hey, that's great. I'll be in a relationship with you, but until you realize the truth, I am the way I am because of the free will choices I've made in my life, and this is how I choose to be. But if you think that, you're going to inspire me to completely want to work through these issues that maybe made me be the type of person I am to begin with, and I chose not to work through them then or since then to be someone who's more inspired by truth and love, hey, you knock yourself out. I like being around loving, nurturing, supportive, encouraging people. I might even marry you. It's good for my ego and my image. But am I going to be that type of person? No, if I wanted to be that type of person, I'd already be that type of person. And then they, in turn, some people who are more about themselves or about the world or ego or image or conforming to the world or trying to get a lot of people to like them or something, that's their thing or something. They could get in relationships with people who Virgo energy can be about being a little more self introspective and just someone who kind of likes to ponder on life in a way, and that can be what really inspires them, Why do I have my fears and insecurities and self-limiting beliefs? Why do other people have their fears and insecurities and self-limiting beliefs? And could be people who can get along with people, but they might prefer to spend more time alone, and so in their Aquarius energy, it can be trying to look at things from the bigger picture and see the big picture, and other people are more wanting to look like a shining star in the world, so you can kind of harness those energies differently. But if someone who's more worldly focused or hasn't done some of this inner work and doesn't maybe plan to, even though some high vibe people might be more free of things that manipulate them, that they have worked through some of those issues to be more open to love, they could think, oh, but you'll stop now because you're in a relationship with me. And instead of being that type of person who keeps kind of periodically working through some of your self-limiting beliefs and your fears and insecurities, you won't want to do really life any differently, right? If I get in a relationship with you because it could have stability or security or status or image, you'll just become more inspired to live your life like this, right? So we can all think that people are going to be more motivated and inspired to live life the way we live it, even though we get in relationships with people where that we could kind of see that's not their truth, right? But, we can go out in the world and we can think other people think like us. That would be kind of like being a mirror reflection of us. And in a lot of ways, they can have a lot of ways of being that we have in common. And that's why we get in a relationship with them to begin with. We also could have similar wounding. And we could have come together in relationship from these different vantage points to help each other kind of work through some of those issues. Oops, got an alarm on my phone. And we could have helped each other work through some of those issues. One person maybe is more about the world, a little more grounded and practical and logical, maybe more willing to maybe put themselves out there, not as self-introspective, maybe helps people who are more introspective kind of get out of their head more and maybe helps them get more grounded within themselves. To together we could uniquely bring something that kind of just provides an environment even where we could do some of this work within ourselves to work through those issues. Just kind of like, it's kind of like a safe environment, that to a degree we kind of accept each other with our flaws and all to a degree. Maybe hoping everybody's going to heal and grow and mature themselves. And during the relationship, you can heal and grow and mature yourself some. But then you can get to a point in a relationship where everybody's kind of maybe worked through some of those issues that you could have had in common, that you could have each helped each other through. But then it is kind of like emotionally where people healed and they're kind of ready to go out in the world, kind of more aligned with maybe feeling a little more stable and grounded in their truth and in themselves. But again, their truth and your truth and what motivates and inspires them is different. But this all could have been a phase of life to be loving and encouraging and supporting people in each other's lives. Even if we did have a lot of differences, sometimes we can have family members that is like, yeah, we're on completely different pages. But being able to be around people who look at life really quite differently and like to live their life completely differently, it also helps us kind of maybe understand other people better because they might be close friends or family members, and we can have love for them. We maybe are able to talk to them, to ask them kind of like, why do you do what you do? And how is it that you think? And, and we can just learn from each other in a way, and then it kind of broadens our perspective of when we go out in the world. We can have more compassion for different people because we've known people that are kind of somewhere, on the spectrum of their human beingness. And we know we love them. So, I hope you get what I mean. Okay, so that could be one scenario that's going on. Now, for the people who work through those issues together with each other, and you're able to kind of work through those issues with each other, and you kind of seem to be motivated and inspired to keep facing your fears. If one of you or one in the group is kind of ready to move forward in life a little differently, the other person might be like, you kind of want me to harness my fire sign energy a little differently than I used to. I'm kind of used to the children card representing also the Six of Cups. I'm kind of used to doing this pattern and doing things this way. You're kind of challenging me to kind of invest in harnessing my fire sign energy a little differently. And I, just from the little while or a couple years that I've done tarot, I really think it's our fire sign energy that is the last one to come on board. That when we are ready to change, detach from kind of an old way of living life to move forward in life differently, our heart could definitely want us to. Things that are going in our 3D world could definitely want us to. Our mind and our logic and our reasoning all tells us it's time to move on or do things differently. But until we work through it kind of in our fire sign energy, to detach from an old way of living life or viewing life or wanting to repeat certain patterns instead of having to maybe put ourselves out there and take the lessons that we've learned and start incorporating that into our life until our fire sign emotionally nature kind of gets on board, we're gonna be kind of in a little bit of a holding pattern. And it's almost like, if it seems like I'd really like to do things differently and I'm not going to repeat those old patterns. It's kind of like, I think we kind of stay in this holding pattern. And it's kind of like our more stubborn, egoic, fire sign nature of self that had these dreams that wanted to have it come in the way it wanted it to come in gets on board, we're going to stay. But again, it's kind of like when I know it's a weird way to talk about it, but when we keep it, like, you can keep, I don't know, I don't even understand it within myself sometimes why I get stuck in these holding patterns, but I am going to keep staying focused on looking to the future and, you know, doing the steps, keeping focused on truth and love, working together with the people in my life who work together with me in that way. And then it could be even kind of feeling like, if we're not kind of more taking fire sign action towards someone else in our life and they're not taking action towards us in that way, or we don't want to, even if they are, it can be waiting. And kind of, I also look at fire sign energy as listening to our intuition. I want to be ready and available that if someone who does seem to be on the same page as me, creative and inspired and more focused on moving forward in life, appears in my life, I'm going to listen to my intuition about that. And until they are, I'm going to stay focused on the people in my life and maybe my career and all those things. And there can be opportunities out there, but I'm not going to go for the people that are tempting me in my more worldly, shadowy Aquarius energy, because I don't want to repeat that old pattern. And if there's people in my life who I know are trying to tempt me in my fear, my insecurity, my lust, my greed, my lack of belief in myself or whatever, and that the only way they would get in a relationship with me, because that's how they live their life, is if I'm in that energy, I'm not going to be in that energy anymore. I've already been there and done that. I don't want to be in more codependent, materialistic, ego-driven, codependent type relationships. I've seen the truth and I am inspired to keep moving forward. And as I move forward, there's always going to be my own shadow nature that tempts me to repeat an old pattern. There's always going to be people who might pop back in my life trying to get me to repeat an old pattern. I'm always going to meet new people that are in kind of more shadowy, manipulative, prideful, egotistical, hurtful, unkind energy. I'm going to wish them peace. Thank you for showing me the truth of who you are. And I'm going to keep listening to my intuition. I'm going to keep focusing my attention on truth and love and justice and fairness and the people in my life who act like that. And there could be some people who would like to be in relationship with some high vibe people, but maybe they need to do some of this work within themselves to figure out why they don't think they deserve to be in a more just and fair, balanced, loving relationship. And they'd have to do some work to, appreciate themselves. A lot of times I think red hair in tarot can mean that, we kind of let our ego and our fear and our past pain and heartbreak and stuff like that kind of manipulate us. And it's about shedding that layer of ourself to free ourselves from it. But we have to do this work within ourselves. So some people are in some more mismatched relationships, and some people are rejecting doing that work within themselves, hiding that they harness these energies in a more shadowy way, hoping that because the people they're in a relationship with want this to work out, that they'll keep putting in a lot of work and effort to make it work out. And that they kind of won't, because that's what high vibe people do. They can put a lot of work and effort into making a relationship work. And they can indulge some people in poor behavior. But there can come a time where eventually the high vibe people in their life are like, why do I keep doing this? Yes, I keep kind of indulging them because of these reasons. I would like this to work, but it's not working. So why do I do this? And then they get to where they're ready to free themselves. And then the more manipulative or bossy or controlling or immature or whatever type people realize that the high vibe people have learned the lesson they needed to learn, and they're inspired to move on from them. And then they still don't want to do the inner work. They decide, what I learned from this person, now I'm going to, like, it's kind of like a narcissist who, well, I'm going to put this puzzle piece here and that puzzle piece there, and my new false mask, I'm going to incorporate, it's like we all go out in the world and we learn things from other people. But more narcissistic people, which can be shadowy Aquarius and shadowy egoic energy, it's all about they think it's all about just creating this illusion about the type of person you are. And if you create this illusion that you're that type of person, then people will want to be in a relationship with you. But it's not authentically who they are. It's like they never do this work within themselves to, like, love themselves emotionally and be inspired to get to know themselves and love and appreciate themselves and get to know and appreciate their own unique talent, skills, and interests to live their more authentic life. Instead, it's like they go out in the world to meet all these people, and it's like, oh, when this happened, they did that. That was good, and those people like that. I'm going to take that, and, like, I'm going to add that to my mask. And now the next time I'm in a situation and something like that happens, that'll be like the thing I pull on. It's like completely living a life that's not their own because of, like, rejecting themselves. And this person acted like that in this situation. This person acted like that in that situation. And this person has these traits and qualities and acts like this. And then they try to emulate that. But it's still not authentically who they are. And then they go take their show on the road, trying to convince people that this is the truth of who they are. It's like, if somebody was a bully, probably in junior high, odds are they're still a bully. If they're 45 or 65 or 35. Unless they really went through some life experiences. And if they had, and they knew they were that type of person, they'd probably tell people how they've changed. And, high vibe is people who've gotten out of their ego and they did learn the lessons. I was immature. I was caught up in myself. I didn't know how to love myself. Blah, blah, blah. And there's other people who they just covered up better, but they're the same person underneath in the next job, friendship, or relationship that they get in that they were last time. And it's still more motivated and inspired just by their own self-interest. Something didn't work out. I could have done something that kind of sabotaged the relationship. I want to look like I've changed, I've healed, I've grown, I've matured. Let's go get in a different friend, job, or relationship to make it look like I did some of the work like other people did. But they didn't really do the work. And the other people really did. They are authentically different. They did heal and grow and mature themselves. They really are moving forward in life. They are different than the person they were. Just like the people who really quit being like a 15-year-old and shed those old ways of being and thinking and mentality to become like an 18-year-old. They really did. They have no interest in acting like a 15-year-old again. And these are like people who it's like, well, I do still think in logic and reason like a 15-year-old, but people frown on that. So I'm just going to hide that I still think like a 15-year-old. And they're like someone trying to go out metaphorically, like presenting themselves more like a emotionally mature 18-year-old. Just like people have a mentality level of a 21 or a 25-year-old. but now they're 35 and 45, but they just try to present themselves as being more emotionally mature than they really are, but they're still kind of more of a viewpoint that other people already saw through the illusion of, grew up and matured themselves, want to move forward in life differently. People buy into the illusion for a period of time, and eventually they see the truth that these people aren't who they say they are. And then eventually those people move on. And the people who keep aligning with them are probably people who have that same emotional maturity level or similar viewpoints of life that some of these people were trying to hide. Like, oh no, that's not me. Oh no, they're my friends or my family member, but no, I know they're like that. Yeah, I'm not like that. And they are. Let's go see what these cards are. The Rest and Building in Reverse. So I also view the Building card like the Body card as Virgo energy, and we can all harness our Virgo energy in a more worldly focused way about ego and image and continuing to move forward the way we've been moving forward, or we're inspired to like grow to our full potential. And some people are like, well, no, that would take more work and effort. I didn't even want to detach from being 15 or 18 or 21 or 25, but because of my family and social pressure, I had to act like I did. But that's really not what they want to do, because they have a different truth. And they could just be people who like to get in relationships just to rest within those relationships. It's just a place for them to rest and heal within, in a way. We all like to be in friendships and relationships, right? That's fun. And it can all make us feel. The Rest card reminds me of the Four Swords, which is Libra energy represented by the scales of justice. It can all provide us a place of feeling more balanced within ourselves. But a lot of people, when they're in an environment, say you're in a workplace or a relationship that is not where people are kind of working together with you cooperatively, it's hard for you to maybe feel at peace within yourself and have the time to even do some of this inner work within yourself, right? And so then when people do get in an environment where it seems to be more balanced and more peaceful and maybe more loving and encouraging and supportive, that's when some other people choose to do this work within themselves. I'm not having to put in so much work and effort now, where it's more me just putting in the work and effort. I'm in relationship with some people who are providing an environment where I can heal and maybe where I feel safe. And so then I can do this work within myself. And it's not like it's a conscious thing, but it's just what some people do. When life is chaotic or whatever and things are going on, you're a little more in crisis mode. And then when you can get in an environment where it's more peaceful, seems more encouraging and supportive, that is eventually, so initially people maybe aren't doing that work, but then they do start to think, I do have some fears and insecurities and self-limiting beliefs and whatever that I've been kind of dragging around with me forever. Why do I keep dragging those things around? And maybe even out of fear that if I don't work through some of those issues, I could be the one to sabotage whatever I'm currently trying to move forward with, and I don't want to sabotage this. So I am going to do some of that work, and I'm sure I'll feel better and I'll feel more stable and grounded within myself. And now I'm in an environment to do that. Well, then one person can do that work, the other person doesn't do the work and doesn't plan to, and then unbeknownst to you, you're kind of ready to move forward in life a little differently, and the other people are still here. And it's like, why'd you do that? You wrecked everything. We both were on the same page right here in this energy. And then you like did this work and now you're not the same person you were. You're not kind of in the same energy I'm in. I still have my fears and insecurities, but I just wanted to be in the relationship and have it just keep moving forward the way it was. Like it gave me a place to rest within. But the whole thing is about kind of growing to your full potential is we use those times in life to heal, work through some of those issues, to keep moving forward, being inspired to grow to our full potential. And that's when some people, they don't really want to be in a relationship with you anymore, and because they'd have to be willing to want to do this work within themselves. And that's a free will choice, and it takes work and effort, and you have to be willing to see the truth of those situations that you need to deal with. Your own more, what you think is just and fair, what drives and motivates you. Are you more about yourself for the world, or working together more cooperatively with people? And just everybody has the free will to want to manifest the life they want to manifest. And for some people, it's like, I was never planning to do that. And can everybody be kind of disappointed that they could be disappointed that you healed and grew and matured yourself in a way? And then it can make them wonder why they don't want to move forward in life a little differently. And then that can wear on their self-esteem, but everybody should live their truth, right? Whatever it is, instead of living more of a false life. Let's go look at these 3 cards. Fear in reverse. Overachiever in reverse. Rejection in reverse. To get out of indulging our more immature nature in the children card to being emotionally someone who's inspired to kind of wrap our brain around this game of life, we have to be inspired to even want to. So this card now is kind of reminding me of Sagittarius energy of the 8 of Wands, which is about higher learning and education, but it's also fire sign energy. You have to be inspired, curious, to even want to wrap your brain around some of these issues. Why did those people act like that? And why did I act like that? And, to kind of even want to look at those things. That's Virgo energy of wanting to even look and shed light on those things, not to go internally in your mind and beat yourself up and beat everyone else up. Is shedding light on them. I just want to bring them up out into the light instead of keeping them hidden in the dark. I want to look at them because some people can be very fearful when a card is in reverse. Some people are very much overachievers where, they make their worth and value based on what they look like and how much money they have and how much status they have and how much social clout they have and blah, blah, blah. That's a more shadowy, high vibe Virgo is kind of knowing your worth and value. And it's not about being so worried about what other people think, because people are going to think what they think anyway. So I'm just going to work on loving myself, believing in myself, treat myself in a loving and encouraging, compassionate, forgiving way, offer that to other people, but it has to be just and fair and balanced. And so I can be a loving and encouraging person to a lot of people, but if they in turn don't want to work together with me in a just and fair and truthful and authentic manner, I can still know them. I can still be a loving and encouraging person in their life if I see them, but am I going to spend more time, energy, and effort in them? No. Because I want to be in relationships with people who have kind of freed themselves from those things that manipulate them to kind of work together with me more in a balanced way in that energy. But some people can put in a lot of work and effort to try to look a certain way and have a certain image and status, and it could be because they really don't know their own worth and value. And then some people have a lot of feeling rejected by certain groups, and then it's kind of interesting if you've known people who are like that. Well, for some, the group that they want to be a part of could be the one that they've been complaining about and calling them hypocrites and egotistical or whatever. But yet they want to be in that group, which is kind of funny, right? And other people could find those people kind of immature and prideful or egotistical, and the other people have no interest. I saw the truth of who they were, and I have no interest in working with them. And I kind of, I'm surprised that why does it still bother you so much? But if those people seem to have a certain status or image in the world, it bothers them maybe that those people aren't including them. Like, well, why? And it's like, it's maybe because you are not like them and they know you're not like them. But so long as you don't want to see where you differ from them, much less if you've complained about them and you think they have these shadowy traits and characteristics, why are you still trying to want to fit in with them when apparently that's kind of not your truth? But because they give those people so much power in their life of thinking those people have a certain status or image in the world, that they want to be part of it, even though it's really not their truth. And when they keep trying to kind of like a round peg in a square hole, trying to fit where they don't really fit, how about love and appreciate yourself and what you do bring to the table? Maybe try to see the truth of where it is different. Would you like community and friendship? Well, why does it have to be that community and friendship? And is it some way we were brought up? Whatever that group could be. How about find your own group and find the people that kind of more on the same page as you? But some people have some issues to work through, could have a lot of fears of being rejected. And so then it is to kind of act these certain ways, and then they can wonder why it didn't work out. And it's like, because you have to be authentically yourself, like shine your own light in Aquarius energy, and then in fire sign energy, be inspired to live your authentic truth. And then, instead of trying to maybe conform yourself to the world or trying so hard to get people to view you a certain way, why make, as long as you make those things so important to you, I think the more you're going to have people use you for their own purposes or keep rejecting you because if you're not living your authentic truth. Now, for some people, they want to repeat an old pattern. They don't want to do this work within themselves. They do not maybe have a healthy self-image, but they could think the answer is to get in a relationship. And like that's the answer. And for some people, their vice to feel better is drugs and alcohol. Other people's, it's to get in a relationship. And then they look to that relationship to be the answer to their problems. And they could think, I will just hide from these things that bother me. I'll kind of wear this false mask, and based on how I know how other people act and behave, I will act and behave like that. And then I'm sure it'll all work out. But the thing is, do you want someone to be attracted to you and you're not even authentically who you say you are? And you have to keep you think your more authentic nature is so unworthy or damaged? I think that sounds like a miserable fate. Do the work to grow up and mature yourself and love yourself to go live your more authentic life. But some people are going to go out there hiding the truth, trying to present themselves as much more stable or grounded or mature than they are, and maybe use their charm or their looks or their sexuality or their power or their influence or their money or whatever they got to try to get someone to invest in a relationship, and then they hope it'll all work out. It's like this could be a pattern that some people have. This is their mode of operating in the world. And if they can find someone who, it could feel shadowy, Six of Cups could be where it seems more superficial and shallow, because people aren't really authentically being and doing and loving from a place of authenticity and love. And that's why it can feel kind of superficial and shallow. And that's why eventually for some people, they don't want to keep staying in it because they feel like the other people are in it more to be in a relationship, maybe to indulge himself in a relationship, or for the ego or the image or the status. It's like, what about being inspired by love? And the other people are like, oh, well, no, I don't want to do that and I reject people really loving me. And maybe even if you do seem like you love me, I might reject you because I reject myself. And then I'll go repeat this pattern again with someone else. And we can all have been where we hadn't learned to love ourselves, and we kind of won't let other people love us, but we'll try to change other people to help them heal and grow and mature. But it's kind of us being in our ego that if we keep getting in relationships with people who need to heal and grow and mature themselves, it's kind of like us being in an ego position, and we're not in relationships kind of with people who challenge us to heal and grow and mature ourselves. And then eventually we can kind of realize that. Why do I keep repeating this old pattern? Why do I try to get in relationships trying to be like a savior to other people? Why don't I accept if they're more immature or they're more about themselves or they're more got whatever they got going on? Why don't I accept that and quit getting in relationships with people like that? And why don't I get in relationships with people who challenge me to heal and grow and mature myself? But first, I have to work through the fact that I think I deserve that. And sometimes when you go through the relationships of trying to change other people, you're probably being a loving and encouraging and supportive person to people. But then it's like, why don't I think I deserve that? And eventually through the process of it, you kind of get to where you do think you deserve it. And then you are ready to be in a relationship with someone who challenges you to keep healing and growing and maturing yourself. And so then some people are moving forward now in those type of relationships, and while they're doing that, some other people still aren't ready, so they're going to keep repeating this pattern. And the difference of sometimes you can get in a relationship with someone who seems a lot like you, where you think, oh, I did find someone who I think we're going to work cooperatively together, and I think we are kind of more on the same page, and I do think they're more mature than some of the people that I've went out with. And in a lot of ways, they can seem to be that type of person. And again, you could have each provided a loving and encouraging environment to each other to a degree. But there can come a time where you just realize how you want to move forward in life is different, because kind of what you're motivated and inspired by and what your truth is. And if they don't want to deal with their issues, they could try to stop you from loving and believing in yourself, doing things that are kind of hurtful and unkind to stop you from loving and believing in yourself, so that you'll keep staying in the relationship and repeating this old pattern. And then you're confused why they're acting like that, and they're not who I thought they were. And then you've got to do this work within yourself to love and believe in yourself and offer them love and encouragement. But again, if they don't want to move forward in life a little differently, and they have these things that still manipulate them, then it gets to be where, you wish them peace. So the people in your life who are working together with you in this way, you're moving forward with. The people who, you feel like you did everything you could, and I'm ready to move forward differently, and they're not. You're wishing them peace and moving on. What's coming up for the high vibe people that they don't see coming? Karma, which is like the judgment card. Tower, Six of Swords, and the reason is because of the Hangman. So the Hangman can talk about feeling stuck, and so it's an opportunity for us to do this, looking at life from other people's perspectives and expanding our perspective of ourselves and the world around us and what we believe is possible, because we have a dream. The Six of Swords is Aquarius energy. I have a dream. I want to bring a dream into reality. The Six of Swords moves away from the Five of Swords, which could be being in relationship with people who harness this energy in a more shadowy way. So, because you felt stuck and you are willing to look at life from other people's perspective, seeing, the only person, the Six of Swords, like I say, moves away from the Five of Swords, and the Fives can talk about change. The only person I can change is myself. I can offer other people truth and love and encouragement, and then they have to make that free will choice within themselves if they want to work through those things or free themselves from things that manipulate them or not. And the Hangman can talk about being enlightened to the truth. The Judgment card can talk about are we willing to hold ourselves accountable? Are other people willing to look at things from other people's perspectives or not? And then it can be people who are being stubborn, trying to prove a point. I don't have to look at life from any other perspective. And they don't. That's their free will. If they choose in the Judgment card, no. The Tower talks about detaching from an old foundation. And if they're like, no, I have decided I'm going to live my life like this, you can either stay or you can go. And some people saw the truth of that. If people were motivated and inspired by truth and love to move forward in life differently, because that's how the high vibe people are moving forward. They were in the Five of Swords. They wanted a dream to come into reality, but things were going on where people had differing opinions of how they viewed life and maybe what they found emotionally fulfilling and how they wanted to keep moving forward. And the high vibe people wanted to move forward with that sword of truth, justice, fairness, truth, love, treating other people the way you like to be treated. And the other people were like, no, I don't want to do that. I want to do this. And the high vibe people saw the truth of it. And they also worked through what it was within themselves that would make them keep putting up with being in workplaces, friendships, or relationships like that. My own fear of loving and believing in myself, maybe that to have a new beginning, that would be like the Ace of Wands. To speak my truth, to stand up for justice and fairness, stand up for myself, love myself in my more worldly nature, which is considered the masculine figures can represent our more worldly egoic nature. I need to take a stand for my more emotionally loving, intuitive nature. And maybe before I really wasn't doing that. And I need to get balance like within myself. I do have my worldly egoic nature. I also have my emotionally intuitive loving nature. I need to work with these two together, and I need to be willing to stand up for myself. If I'm not willing to stand up for myself, and I kind of indulge poor behavior in myself and others, there's going to be other people who are happy about that. That's great. You don't. You do indulge me in poor behavior, and you keep indulging yourself in not being balanced to stand up for your more loving nature, to get justice for yourself, right? And so when we first get balanced within ourselves, and we're willing to look at life differently and kind of see the truth of it, that I was willing to kind of tolerate poor behavior in myself and others, because instead of me standing up for myself, I guess maybe I wanted to get in a relationship for someone to stand up and defend me. And there's people who can come in our life and say, yeah, I'll be willing to stand up and defend you, male or female, friends, family, whoever. But really, it's just more for what they can get out of it, because you're like a loving, nurturing person who hasn't learned to stand up for yourself yet. And this whole process was maybe to get you to stand up for yourself and what you believe in. And I'm not going to keep staying in relationships with people who want to keep operating from an unstable foundation, is what the tower can represent. It's not operating from a foundation of truth and love and justice and fairness. It's maybe more about themselves or ego or lust or greed or pride or fear or defensiveness. Like, that's not why I want to move forward in a relationship. But if that's why you do, then you're going to want other people to be in that energy, and I'm not in that energy anymore if I was at one time. So you're moving forward by willing to do this work within yourself, hold yourself and other people accountable, do the work to get to the truth of some things within you at a core foundational level that you maybe hadn't wanted to deal with. And it could just be expanding your perception of yourself and the world and what you believe is possible. Because then that does kind of open up things differently, because in Aquarius energy, we look at life differently, and we're putting things in a bigger perspective. You know, sometimes we can get so caught up in these things of the world that we want that we kind of lose perspective. It's like, let's look at life from the bigger picture. I'm probably going to live 80 years. You know, could I take some time to just enjoy my life and my friends and family if I'm not in a relationship right now? Yeah. Do I need to desperately be in a relationship? No. How'd the last ones go? Maybe not so well. I want to be available, not to get in a relationship just to be in a relationship, or just go get a job to get a job. I want to be in friendships and relationships and jobs with people who I think are enlightened to the truth. And as you keep moving forward in that energy, I think other people see the truth. Maybe some people, because of the way they view life, they could have thought that you weren't someone who was more stable or grounded, or thought you were more caught up in the world, or ego or image or lust or greed or blah, blah, blah. But as you're not taking action in that way, it kind of makes other people see the truth of who you are, and then they're illuminated to the truth of who you are, and then they have to decide, do I love and believe in myself enough to be in relationships with people who live their life like that? You know, they're not going to indulge me in my poor behavior. Am I kind of used to being in relationships where I think people should indulge me a little bit, or it should just be a little bit more about me? Or I should be able to kind of manipulate or control people and not be more authentic for what I can get out of it? And the people who currently in your life, and the people that you're going to meet, and anybody who wants to come towards you, I think because of these lessons that you've learned in life, and you've learned to listen more to your intuition, not just take things more on face value, like, oh, look, they look stable and grounded, and they said they weren't bossy and controlling or prideful or egotistical. You know, now in kind of your fire sign energy and Pisces of the Hangman can talk about connecting with our intuition. And maybe before we didn't really listen to our intuition, because us in our pride and ego and thinking we're the boss and we can control things, sometimes we ignore it, and then that didn't work out the way we wanted. So now you've learned to listen to your intuition, and whoever comes towards your life, in your life, people that you meet in your life, you're no longer, the truth is you are moving forward now less influenced by your pride and ego and worldly nature, and more influenced by these lessons that you've learned and listening to your intuition. And I think you'll get to know people to get an idea of how they view the world and what kind of drives and motivates them. And the people who you think haven't been enlightened to the truth that it is supposed to be about love and love is supposed to be just and fair. I think with those people, you'll keep moving on. Wish them peace. And the people who seem to be enlightened to the truth are the people you'll move forward with. And with the Tower, it could be kind of surprising in your life as you're moving forward in life a little differently. Who are the people who don't want to move forward with you, which would be people you could have thought would. And it could be surprising some of the people who do. You know, because we can think we know people, and we could have known people since we were young, and people since we were children, and people that, you know, at one time they could have been more authentic, but then, and loving and encouraging. But then as time goes by, you know, we can all have things that kind of wear on our self-esteem, and then we can kind of get in our competitive energy, our jealous energy, and it can cloud our judgment. And so some people at this point in time won't be moving forward with us, right? And, you know, I think high vibe people are just like we know we've made mistakes in life and we're a fallible human being. We understand other people are fallible human beings. And if at a later date, those people, and just like we could be reaching out to people to tell them, hey, I learned some lessons and I'm not the same person I was before, and this is how I'm moving forward. You want to move forward with? Some of those people will be accepting of that. Some of those people won't. You know, it just depends on where we're at in life. Like, I'm not stuck about that situation. I've already moved on. But if it's a romantic relationship, I've already moved on with someone else. I wish you peace and love. I'm glad you freed yourself from what manipulated you. But am I available to get in a relationship with you? No. And again, if that's the case, high vibe people are like, I'm not going to let it keep me stuck. I believe the divine has a plan for my life, and I'm going to keep moving forward, seeing what God has planned for me. And I think with the Six of Swords, you are on your way to having your dreams come into reality. Maybe with working with the people you are, or some people you're going to meet as you move forward. What's coming up for the more worldly, shadowy people in their Aquarius energy that they don't see coming up? The Wheel of Fortune and the Six of Cups, which can be that people have the opportunity in the Wheel of Fortune to reconcile themselves with these issues from the past so they could put it behind them and move forward in life. But some people kept repeating a certain pattern or way of viewing life or a way of living life. So they're going to have to repeat that pattern again, or that cycle. Why? Because of the Judgment card, which is kind of like the Karma card. You know, it's like as if these lessons in life that we have to learn, it's like these ways of viewing life are like math problems. You can't go to the next level in school to be able to work at that next math level class if you haven't figured this out yet and how this works. And because, and they may have free willingly have decided that, but as they free willingly decide to keep repeating an old pattern of the past, other people that they don't see coming are going to call judgment on them. And they could always have some more people in their life who would like to work together with them, friends and family and romantic interests. But because they keep choosing to invest their time, energy, and effort into repeating a pattern where maybe they don't want to make a decision to have a new beginning or move forward in life differently, the other people see the truth of it. And the other people say, then you can do that, but you're going to have to do it with someone else. I'm moving forward. I'm not going to keep repeating this pattern. And they will move up here to work through this to move on. And again, when people kind of are indulged in some poor behavior in some way, in a workplace, friendship, or relationship, or family dynamic, they keep hoping it works for them. And it's like using the love that other people have for them to keep manipulating them. And eventually the people are like, I'm done. It's either we work together cooperatively in truth and love and it's just and fair, or I'm done. And it's kind of reminds me of stuff in the Bible where, you never know when the day of judgment is going to come, and things that happen at the bigger picture happen at the smaller picture, fractals. And just like we don't know when the end of the world might happen, if the end of the world ever happens, we don't know sometimes when we can be in a relationship and everything seems to be working great, and then someone repeats a poor past pattern, and people are like, what are you doing? And some people are like, that's it, I'm out of here. If you thought for 1 minute that I was going to repeat a pattern like that, and you thought that was okay, and you justified that, yeah, no, you are not the person for me, and I'm leaving. And it could be a shock. For other people, it's just time after time after time. And eventually people are like, boom, I'm done. I'm willing to let go of this dream because I see the truth of how you want to move forward. And it is not in truth and love. You want to keep repeating this old pattern. And I'm not repeating this pattern again. And if you want to, you can. But you're going to have to go find someone who wants to repeat that pattern with you. Because I am not. And as they have other people kind of leave their life, don't want to be in a relationship with them anymore, there's other people in the world, because these people could look very victorious and successful and like a shining star in the world in some way. There'll be other people who view them as someone that seems to have these traits, qualities, or characteristics, or stability or security that people want. And then those people will have an opportunity to decide if this is their truth or it's not. And if this also isn't their truth and they go through the cycle with that person, then those people will see the truth. This isn't my truth. And those people will leave. And eventually the people who might stay are people like them who have a way of living life or viewing life where maybe it isn't about looking at life from a higher perspective. Maybe it is more about being in a relationship, just to be in a relationship. As long as it works for your ego and your image, that's good. What more is there? If it has a certain status, that's good. Shadowy Six of Cups, Scorpio energy can just be people who are more emotionally shallow and superficial. And, if you're having sex with someone, isn't that love? Isn't sex? So they could be in relationships with people where it's more functional. Sex is sex. It's not anything to do with love. Because they could be people who don't really connect in with their more deep emotional way of being anyway. And so to them that could be love. And shadowy Scorpio can be more where people just are more superficial and shallow. They're not inspired by more deep, meaningful relationships. And if they can find someone else who's good with more superficial and shallow relationships, then they got in a just and fair relationship. What's unjust and unfair is someone who knows that that's the type of person they are, trying to present themselves as a more high vibrational person motivated by love, when they know that's not what drives and motivates them. That's an injustice. And if they keep trying to do that, the high vibe people keep listening to their intuition, healing and growing and maturing themselves to call judgment on these people. And they might not like it, because everybody can like to be in a relationship with someone who's not immature or bossy or controlling or superficial and shallow, who's loving and nurturing and supportive and encouraging, but that's an injustice. And the high vibe people adhere to a higher truth and justice, than what the world thinks. It's like, if you think I shouldn't get out of this because of this and this reason, then you get in a relationship with them. Or you stay in your relationship that's like that. I don't think God wants me to stay in something that's unjust and unfair. Especially if someone wasn't being truthful for the beginning and creating an illusion. That was, you know, and I'm going to live my truth and the world can judge away. And if someone else wants to live their life like that, they can. That's their free will. It's not my truth. And so, as some people kind of repeat a pattern and other people move forward in life differently, it kind of, just by you living your more authentic life, it kind of reveals the truth of people who do operate more from their ego or immature or indulgent nature or whatever, and who isn't getting in relationships more for the wrong reasons, right? And as you move forward with people, people see the truth that this is a relationship based on truth and love, and they could see that the other one is more for some other reasons. The truth always comes to light. So there you go, Aquarius. I wish you peace, love, and joy, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.